Hi there, thanks for watching my other video. I've had a busy weekend and I actually managed to do a little experiment with my solar cooker. I made a movie about it and I put it on my GreenCheck NL channel, which so I'll upload it and link to it below this video. It won't be right away because I'll do it after this video. This channel is mainly about the robo-economy and the carbon credit system. I think that there's lots of people that talk about let's say, occupy this and occupy that, and the bonuses and the bankers and all that stuff. But there's nobody talking about what's actually beneath that, why is it happening, and what is the future, what was the alternative. And there's two polar opposites that you can describe. One is the carbon credit economy, which is the economy. If you talk to an economist, he's an expert in the carbon credit economy. You know, if an economist talks about economical growth, what he talks about is the expansion of the utilization of carbon fuels, historically, in the 20th century at least, because that's the century in which that basically the whole philosophy economics has been developed in order to get people to understand that what they need to do is expand the utilization of carbon. See, because economical growth means that we have more factories, more shops, more people consuming, more production, and right now, today, that is all based on carbon. A true economist would say, well, if we want to have growth, it has to be generative. That means that the raw materials that we start with, in the end, we'll have more of them. So if we start with a little bit of grain, we have to have more grain in the end. And if we have grain and oil, then of course at the end we have to have grain and more grain and oil. Okay, maybe the same, but not grain, but no oil anymore, which is now of course always the case. If you produce food and you transport them around the world and you provide them to people, then the fundamental cost of that is carbon. And let's say fertilizers made with gas, that's not growth, that is consumption, that is depletion of a resource. So that's the carbon credit economy. And what's the credit side? That's the financial side. That's basically distributing money there where it thinks that the utilization of the carbon will be optimal. So it will go to, and of course, optimal means maximum margins for the carbon sellers. So it can be wasteful if you, let's say, see somebody mowing the lawn with a huge device that makes a lot of noise and there goes diesel in it. That's fantastic in economical sense, because somebody is providing that guy with his fuel every day. He has to go back and he has to pay part of his salary or whatever he gets for what he's doing directly to the oil company. Fantastic. That's the right type of basically reseller of that carbon, and of course end user of that carbon. And lots of margins can be cut of that whole money stream. So the carbon credit system is not about efficiency. It's about maximizing the margins that you can catch of the selling of the oil. The robo-economy that I also talk about, or that I basically think that that's like completely obvious that that's going to be the way of the future, says that machines will make things for us based on renewable energy, so at zero cost, and we can restore the ecology with robots as well, or with machines based on renewable energy, and that will be our future economy. And it will be generative, it will be local, because that's easier, that's more efficient. So if I have a solar panel here and I want to power something in Amsterdam, that won't work because the conduction from here to Amsterdam is too small for any power to reach that city. If I have one solar panel here, that just doesn't work. So it's more the electricity from my solar panel that I have in The Hague is more efficiently used locally, which means that you will generate your energy where you need it, where you use it. And that results in an economy in which there's no money flowing around in order to direct the energy to the right place, as it is right now in the carbon credit economy. And that means that the whole banking system is obsolete, and that energy companies in a real sense are obsolete. Because if you have a neighborhood that you insulate the houses enough, that they use really very little energy at all to heat themselves or to keep warm, and you put renewable insulation on the roof on top of that, then you know, most houses become generative. They provide more energy than they need, and of course it's good for that they provide more energy, because you want to have street lanterns, and you want to have somebody doing all kinds of nonsense that you like, and for everything that people do, they need energy. They need some power to work the machines, otherwise they have to do manual labor. And so that's why I'm talking about this. I think, and the problem we're in right now, the financial crisis, which is an energy crisis, is basically the attempt of the carbon credit system to shrink the credit side in such a way that it can continue to exist, because we are not able to use as much carbon as we used to at the moment, because we don't have money. For instance, Greece is completely broke. It's cut off of Iranian oil as of today, I believe, which means that that whole economy cannot exist, because there will be no gasoline at the gas station there. There will be no oil to heat the homes if they get cold, and it does get cold in Greece, you know, and they're suffering. And the hope of the carbon credit system is that let's say the suffering and the destitution and the degradation and the demoralization and the chaos of the people that are cut off of oil will leave them incapable of creating the robo-economy. If they would, then that would be an incredible problem, because let's say, for instance, if today there's somebody with $1 billion goes into Greece and sets up a number of workshops around the country where you create the renewable energy sources, devices, whatever you need, you produce them locally. And then within a few years of doing that, and of course it is funded with money, which means it is funded with carbon from some source, because you need to produce and you need to have, let's say, something to do the machine work with, which is, you need carbon for that, so somebody has to provide that. Then you would completely turn that country around. In a few years it would have enough renewable energy sources in order to keep going with that process, building renewable energy sources. And after a while it wouldn't need any carbon from outside anymore, and it would be producing all the souvlakis and whatever they're making there without any external input. And you would go to, and let's say here the media would keep screaming, well, Greece now a land of whores and prostitutes and heroin addicts, and everybody is hunting each other with guns, and it's because they wouldn't want to go and see anybody go there and find out that Greece is a prosperous country and doesn't need any external import. Doesn't need stuff from China because they make it themselves. Doesn't need anything. It can grow cotton because it can irrigate using renewable energies. It can desalinate water using renewable energies. It has plenty of sun. It is just drowning in energy. It is drowning in what it needs in order to have wealth. It's not a big surprise, because it is one of the oldest cultures in Europe, and it used to be like Arcadian landscape is like the principal, let's say, iconic, beautiful, lush, fertile landscape that provides you with everything you need. Lamb meat in it and all that stuff. Fantastic. But that's the robo-economy, and that's basically the attempt of the carbon credit system to create chaos and destitution around the world. And in order to do that, it needs the financial control, and that's why we are always focusing on the wrongs in the financial system, because that the power of, let's say, I don't want to make this video too long now. It's really, but the nice thing about financial, let's say, the financial reality, if you're presented with it, it is a myth. It's a mythical world. You're being told about it. Something happens here, something happens there, like Ben Bernanke and the Illuminati and all that stuff. It's a mythical world, but it does influence you. You believe in it. It occupies part of your mind. It shouldn't occupy any part of your mind, but it does, in a sense that somebody talks about it and you think it's important that he gets $1 million and you don't get $1 million. It's not important at all. What is important is that you cannot do what you would like to do in order to help yourself. You cannot, I cannot sell electricity to my neighbor in this street, which could help me because we could trade, and I'll give him the energy and he'll make bread for me. Like there's a bakery down the street here. There's actually in my street there's a couple of There's a dozen bakeries where there's ovens that they're baking bread. Not that it's a bakery neighborhood, but it's just we have lots of these people from Turkey that came here. And in Turkey they're used to making everything local, so they do that here too. It's really funny. I like that. So I could provide them with electricity to bake bread, and I get free bread. Of course somebody has to provide the flour and all that stuff, but there could be another kind of relationship between people to arrange that locally. Or it might even be organized. That's not a problem at all. That's still possible. But it's not allowed. I cannot sell my electricity to my neighbor. And that's the problem. That's what sucks about the fact that's supposed to be law. It's supposed to be legal in Holland that I cannot really sell my electricity. I cannot provide it to him without going through the electricity grid, and of course paying taxes over it and all that stuff. I don't mind paying taxes. I mind the fact that I have to deal with energy companies that are in charge, because that's not that's occupation. That's in a way that's fundamentally the problem. In Germany, to finish off with that point and to keep it to one point, because there's many ones and I can just talk on for ages, and really the coherence of my story becomes a little bit vague. But in Germany they solved that problem because they took charge of the electricity grid, and that was a very heroic, a very important thing that happened there, because they had Herman Scheer, which is a politician that has died since then, and he pushed for the fact that energy companies were simply are allowed to use the grid, but they're not the owners of the grid, and they will not make rules in order to keep others from using it. No, everybody can use the grid, everybody can be an energy supplier, everybody can be productive. Plus they did something else which is also very good. They put a margin on carbon energy use and use that margin to to subsidize renewable energy. That's very powerful. Basically the German state decided that it would confiscate carbon in the form of money, which could be spent, would be given to the people that have renewable generation energy. So somebody would buy solar panels, and he'll get more for delivering his electricity to the grid than somebody that simply bought energy from the grid. So he get 20 cents more. What the state did was it took money, which is carbon, it provided the money to the solar panel buyer. That solar panel buyer could buy the solar panel, so that money was transferred to the producer of the solar panel, and the producer of the solar panel could buy the carbon needed to produce the solar panel with that money. So that's why it's carbon confiscation by the state of Germany. And it was massively effective. So in Germany they now have cities that have 16 million euros net income from their solar panel park that they have, and lo and behold, eventually, and this is still continuing because they're still installing systems, because the price is still dropping, and people are waking up to the fact that it removes economical pressure, and cities could basically, in some cases, stop asking for taxes from their citizens. Why? Well, because they don't need them anymore. They have so much income from the renewable energy sources. And do they need financing by Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan? No. They have 16 million a year that just comes falling into their hands, which they can spend in their own city at producers of whatever it is that use electricity. So that's the robo-economy. That's what I'm after. And what's the big puzzle is how to promote that vision for me, how to put information on my websites in order to make people more enthusiastic about it. And well, I hope this video was not too rambling. I had a very tiring day. I did some skating. In Holland we have now minus, in the north we have minus 18 degrees Celsius. Here we had today minus 6 or something like that. So it was a very good day to test this solar cooker. And so check out the video, and thanks for listening. And I'll try to put together after. So this is a solar cooker. Then I'm going to try to make the solar air heater, and then I'll try to write something or show something about phase materials and heat storage. I also have to comment, that's something I can throw in the end, is that there's a guy that has a channel on Facebook. It's called Guilt-Free Water Heating, I believe. Let's see what it's called. Guilt-Free Hot Water or something. And he's putting pictures on, which is amazing. Just check it out. I'll link to it below. I'm not a big fan of it. Why not? Because he shows you solar thermal heaters for water which have dirty plastic coverings, which is very wasteful. If you have a solar panel which is dirty, it can cost about 10% or 15% of the yield. And so certainly if it's brown plastic, then it won't work. You're just wasting 50% of your energy right away. And anyway, check it out. I'm hoping to see examples of people doing it themselves, but not doing it in a masochistic way. I think that there's a large portion of the public that likes to be a masochist about renewables. Stop being a masochist. Stop trying to suffer. Try to prosper and try to win. Otherwise your mentality is just a little bit unhealthy, and I hope it will improve someday. I'm not a masochist. So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it.